Hey guys, my midday video today had six winning trades and one losing trade. And in hindsight, the one losing trade would have actually been a winner if I had just held on. But I had very tight orders and very small orders and very tight stops today, and made a few bucks. Not getting rich by no means, but I made some money. Basically, I don't think the downside's over. I know some people in the room are calling, oh, we've got a significant bottom in. Well, there is a chance for that. What I am really looking at here, we have not come down and had a solid hard test of the primary trend line on our semiconductors, and we've getting downgrade after downgrade in the semis. And even despite a 10% decline in AMD today, we still at the worst of the session, we still did not manage to come down and tag his trend line. So that is my primary thesis on the Qs. Thinking going forward here, I still don't want to take swing longs in the Qs, thinking that there's still a potential downside risk for the semiconductors. So that's the one thing, because the semis were what was holding the Qs up all this time. That's the one thing that I'm keeping a very close watch on here and going forward. And I even like to take Apple to the long side here after hitting the Magic 274 in the morning session. But I would love to take a swing long here, but I just can't find myself to do it. Today we had news, and I know in the room you guys are really not giving it much thought. Starbucks. They announced that they've opened up 85% of those are their stores. And immediately after that, the market started rebounding. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean anything at all? Well, yes, it does. Gilead. Gilead has had one heck of a move. We closed we around 178, 180 area. We're at the 174. I actually mentioned in a room. Mark was talking about going long. I had mentioned it's going to 171. My primary reasoning for this: spring is right around the corner. And yes, we got this I got a tongue twister here. We got the virus, okay, and it's really bad in the wintertime, but in the summertime, viruses tend to go away, okay? That's one thing. We're talking about 6 months to a year from now before they can even have a vaccine ready, okay? So this thing can come all the way back in, most likely will, all the way back down into the 60s before they even finally get a virus or get a vaccine. And if by the time they do get a vaccine, after spending billions of dollars, is there really going to be much demand for it? That's the a thousand question here. Now on the flip side, you got these big orders for the face mask, and that is a solid physical order of product today. So the companies like 3M today are getting these orders for all these face masks. Those are sustained demand orders that are, whether they get used or not, those orders are going to be filled. Okay, so companies like 3M are going to get paid good. I think there's going to be $1.5 billion injection to help prepare Americans to fight for this disease from the government they're trying to get passed in Congress. So these are the type of trades that make a lot of sense to me. But uh, companies like Moderna, you know, uh, they're just completely tanking on the news. Starbucks opening up, and you know what? If the companies that's given a sign that things are slowly getting better in China. It may or may not be. China might be completely hiding the actual facts, but it does suggest that things are improving faster than what um, the media and everybody else are dictating. And we just finally broke away from the primary uptrend today. So we just barely scraping the edge of going into bear market territory with and getting some good news out of Starbucks. So just keep that in mind going forward here. I'm gonna have to pause this so this thing can load. Okay, I can never get that video chart to load. So at any rate, my primary I use volume at my target points, and they tend to typically work. I thought we actually were going to come down here and tag this today and get the responsive buy. We did actually get the buy earlier in the session than I expected. The news broke with Starbucks about the same time we put the bottoms in for the markets. So um, I do think that the 2983 area is a potential target for the markets. But my main thing is, like I had mentioned, is the whole semiconductors. And I do think they have not had a solid test of trend yet. So that's something they don't necessarily have to have that solid test, but that's something that I was wanting to look forward here. And there are some people in the room may be calling the bottom for the week in the markets, which could very well be the case. Um, Technically, if we are to bounce here, it could go one of two ways. We're slightly on the bullish side here. So the 3084 area is the natural target for the markets from here, since buyers do seem to be creeping in at this point. So just keep that in mind going forward here. Um, I might be taking a small Apple position in the overnight session. I'm just kind of sitting here waiting to see right now what's going on in these markets. The Qs, I would like to go back out on the daily here first. Uh, Basically, the Qs came down and we hit a Venom line. I still prefer having solid uh, volume point of controls as the support areas. Okay. And so basically, we are looking at the monthly. So that would be that's December's value. December's value down here, volume point of control would be the 8323. But what's really driven this to the moon, and that was our semiconductors. And so just keep that in mind. Our primary trend is still broken on the Qs. And yes, we can rally back up, but I'm still leaning more to the downside, knowing that the semis have not tagged trend, at least tagged trend yet. So we might. I'm not saying we're going to put lower lows. I'm kind of thinking that we are going to go sideways maybe a little bit before any type of potential bounce scenario. You see down here where my target is on these markets, the 82, 73, 25 area is kind of what I'm looking for. But I mean, like I said, we just finally are crossing into the bearish territory, and the semis were really helping take us down this morning. And we've had quite a few downgrades in the semiconductors. So AMD was down 10% at one point today. That's something you just don't want to not pay attention to going forward here. AMD being a rocket ship to the upside. So basically, we have come down. We looked below this support area, which I had in my morning video, and we're right back to that. We looked below that, and we're right back to that. That is a support resistance area. So I'm not making these lines up, but I already had these drawn on my chart. So just keep that in mind going forward here. I really thought the solid support for AMD, and keep in mind, AMD really had disappointing earnings. So they're trying to support this right here, but I really think the real support is the 3960 area. So I could be wrong. You can see all these red bars here and stuff. I could be wrong. That's for darn sure. But I'm really thinking the semis are going to drag on to, in the overnight session. That's why I'm really leery about even taking Apple. Apple came down and hit my 274 area today, right here, support line. And that was my target. It hit it. It's rallying. Um, does that mean I want to go long here? Not necessarily. Okay, so we're at 280 right now, kind of hovering out here. This one here, if I was going to take any to the long side for an overnight session, this one here would be my target, especially after hearing the Starbucks news. Apple will be the next one to opening their stores. So I think there's a lot of reason to think that a hard bottom in Apple might have actually transformed here. And taking a little bit of speculative, uh, keep in mind their earnings are right here. Um, I thought it was unrealistic. They were talking about having earnings above and beyond what they had this past quarter for December. I thought that was just ludicrous what they were saying. Um, Now they've already brought their numbers down. So you want to target the month before, and that puts price all the way down here. So keep that in mind in context. The 248, 250 area, we're at 280. Okay. So that is something just to keep in context on your trading. Just how far up Apple has just completely exploded. And we already know targets are coming in on Apple with this whole coronavirus thing. Okay. So basically, on my trades today, 1 second here. Let me see what I've done. Okay, 3M was called out early in the morning. I saw it coming down. It got back to yesterday's VPOC and above the 21 SMA on my 15-minute here. So I went ahead and I initiated a long. It came up in just a matter of a few minutes. I managed to lock in some nice little profit on 3M. I mean, I didn't get rich on the trade, but that was my one and done for the morning. Okay, that's what started me out here. Then Nvidia later in the later on in the session, I had mentioned about my bearishness in the semis, and basically we came up here uh, a monthly VPOC and right above this 21 SMA. I thought we were going to catch a responsive sell back down to our VWAP, and which we did get that. It just it went. I had a very tight stop on it. The next candle, it actually put in new highs there. It stopped me out. I lost like $100 on the trade. I wasn't taking any chances here. Higher highs on my 15 minutes chartings. So you got to have your rules and stick to them. But this trade would have worked. I would have made some decent bank on it, but I got stopped out on very tight uh, stops. Okay, earlier today, Mark was really bullish on Netflix. I actually took a short position in Netflix for a little bit of buck. And I think I got in. I think I got in right about through here. Took a short position, locked in the move right here. Really small position on only because I saw the indices preparing to implode. I had the financial breaking down. Had the all the other markets were not looking too pretty. So I had a nice little trade on Netflix this morning, but I was going against a trend for the room. Okay, a little bit later, the markets were putting their lows in. Amazon or Microsoft was showing a lot of relative strength in the face of a major sell down in the markets. So as Amazon was, as I saw the market seemingly to putting in a bottom, I did take a short trade in Microsoft this and made a few bucks around the VWAP here. I didn't even try to push my trades. I have a time limit about I was only looking for a 10-minute window, 10-15 minute window on my trades today, and I was just locking in profits as fast as I could and going. And then my biggest trade for today, Amazon, and basically I caught it down here around 1900 and rode it back up to the VWAP. So I got me a nice $20 pop in Amazon. That made my day. So I'll just call it for that. Made a couple weeks, or made over a week's goal for today. And considering how the markets were trading, I am pretty happy with that. I mean, uh, it everybody thinks it's easy to trade to the downside, but it's really not. And I just rather take the short scalps for the setup that seem to pop out on me, and then not sit here and stress about my trades. Okay. Okay, that's pretty much all I'm doing today. Going in the overnight, I don't think we're out of the woods. I mean, I know some people are trying to call the bottom here, and the only reason, my primary reason, I don't think we're out. I don't think we've had a hard test for the semis yet. I think we're probably going to hear some downgrades tomorrow in the semis again. If I'm right, that'll drive the semis down and put pressure on the indices. So, but then again, the Starbucks news, that is a pretty positive development, and the markets are very oversold for the week. So, you have to, I'm not for sure how you want to look at this here. So, I might be, if I do anything tonight, I might take a couple Apple calls for the overnight just in case. Um, but that's about the only thing I'm looking at here. And, let's see how the ZNs are doing right here. We do have a breakdown in our bonds. So that is a good sign. So seeing that development here, I'm leaning more to the bullish side as of we speak. Um, yeah, I'd much rather be more to the bullish scenario going forward than actually the. But the VIX isn't coming in yet, so um, uh, we'll just keep an eye on that going into the afternoon session here. Um, doesn't look like they're willing to say this is the end, the downside. So, okay, that's everything I got to say. Leave comments, like the video if you like it. Thanks.